My feathers are getting in the way here. Welcome to all my fabulous Fyberistas. Thank you so much to my returning subscribers, and welcome and thank you to my new subscribers. Let's first talk about Worldwide Stitch in Public Day. Those of you who follow me on Instagram know that Crochet Luna and I teamed up to do a meet and greet at the Los Angeles Griffith Park Observatory, which sits up in the, I don't want to say mountains, but it's higher up elevation, and you get a beautiful view of the Los Angeles, what we call the basin. There's the basin side and the valley side, and so the mountains sort of separate us. And the Griffith Park Observatory sits high, and you have this wonderful view out to the ocean and downtown and just the whole city. It's really a spectacular view from that vantage point. And you have the Hollywood sign there. It was a little hazy that day, so unfortunately I didn't really get great pictures of the Hollywood sign, but I will insert a short video from Worldwide Stitch in Public Day. The really cool thing, aside from Claudia from Crochet Luna driving up here from San Diego, and thank you so much, Claudia. She and I, that was the first time we met. We know each other through social media, and she is just beyond delightful and just so sweet, and really it was such a pleasure meeting her. But before we arrived, you guys, what a ding dong. I swapped out I was taking a lot of things in my knitting and water and sun hat and all sorts of things because we were going to be outdoors. So I thought, well, I don't want to take an extra purse, and for some reason, why I didn't just throw my wallet in one of my project bags, but I didn't. I took only one credit card, and I had some money, and my keys, driver's license, etc., etc. I go to park, and the machine won't take my credit card, and I'm thinking, well, what's wrong? The card's fine. It's what's wrong? What's wrong? I don't realize. And then I go, oh my gosh, what's wrong? And then I said the S word, oh my gosh, O-S-H, you know what. And a woman says to me, are you okay? And I turn and I look, and there are two lovely women standing with bags. And I looked at them, and I think we can spot each other, can't we? I said, are you crocheters or knitters? Are you here with Claudia? And they said, yes, we are. And I said, oh my God, I'm Karen. My credit card's not working. So they came over and they said, oh, they don't take, and I didn't have my glasses on, like a ding dong. And one of the women said, oh, they don't take American Express. I said, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay for the parking? What am I going to do? We're already, I was just crazed. And so luckily I had enough cash on me that I was able to use the other woman's credit card because she had a Visa, and so I gave her the cash. But our fiber community is always coming to the rescue of each other, and that is just the greatest thing. Had it been anyone else, they probably would have told me to get lost, or I'm crazy, or I'm trying to, take advantage or something. But these fiber people, we love you, fiber people. We just love you. And so that was really cool. Well, not that I didn't have the right credit card, but that'll teach me. American Express is not taken at all locations or at all merchants, so make sure to carry other cards. So we're up at Griffith Park, and it was so wonderful, and the weather was perfect. We had a lovely spot on a picnic bench under a big tree, and it was perfect. And Claudia came, and a couple of her friends who are from Los Angeles, so I met a few of her friends, and then two women that neither of us had met before. They showed up. I think they are followers of Claudia, Crochet Luna. And so they showed up, and then this was so cute. So we're sitting there, and a woman comes by, and she said, oh, are you guys for the Worldwide Knit in Public Day? Yes, we are. Okay. She said, oh my goodness, thank goodness. So we met her and her daughter, and I apologize, I don't recall the woman's name, but her daughter, the woman is from Rhode Island, and her daughter brought her there because they located our Worldwide Knit in Public event on the Worldwide Knit in Public Day website because I had posted it there. And so wasn't that cool? This lovely woman from Rhode Island was so brave, and she sought out other Fyberistas, and so it was really great meeting a new group of crocheters, and I was a knitter, the Rhode Island woman was a knitter, and the other women were all crocheters. And so it really inspired me, all that crocheting inspired me to make a lot of crochet flowers, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So that was Worldwide Stitch in Public Day. It was a great event, and Claudia and I do plan on holding other events, not solely for Worldwide Stitch in Public Day, but we think that we should make maybe quarterly or something, that we'll do some sort of event that we can bring together knitters and crocheters and needlepoint and weavers, anyone in the fiber community, spinners, anyone who wants to join in. We will all meet and visit and chat and talk about our love of yarn. Oh, and something else. One of the crocheters, a woman named Victoria, was going to be attending the Pride Parade in West Hollywood the following day. And so she was crocheting a scarf with all these beautiful colors. And I was unfamiliar with paint box yarns. It's 100% cotton yarn, and it was gorgeous colors. So that was something new for me. So, you know, you guys, we're always learning something new about our fiber community. New yarns, new designers, new makers, new techniques, new everything. And there's just so much to learn. What else? So that was Worldwide Stitch in Public Day. So a big shout out to all my new friends that I met at Worldwide Stitch in Public Day. And thank you to Claudia, just a special shout out to Claudia. Thank you, Claudia. It was really a pleasure meeting you, and I look forward to many more fiber events that you and I coordinate. Though the focus of my episodes is on yarny goodness, I also would like to highlight and give a shout out to other makers. And two of those makers are the designer of this mask, Dora Mara on Etsy. This is so well constructed. The the feathers are gorgeous, and they're sticking to my lipstick. That was silly of me. But it is beautifully made, and it has a nice gross grain ribbon. Is that it? Gross grain? Is that the correct pronunciation? It's a lovely ribbon for the tie behind your head, and there are all kinds of masks. If you're into the sugar skull masks and Halloween masks and Venice, like Mardi Gras or festival masks, so many masks makers. So Sisters of the Moon, who created this gorgeous tulle skirt, and you can get the tulle in all different types of color. And I guess it's considered bridal tulle, so it's a very fine. I've seen tulle I've been to Joann's for fabrics, and I do not see this tulle there. This is much finer. It's I'm guessing it's a higher quality tulle, but it's lovely. I am definitely buying more of these tulle skirts. For what, you ask? Just to dress up, because that's the way I roll. I have a lot of costumes planned, you guys, so stay tuned. On to finished objects. What am I wearing? The Love Note by Tin Can Knits. And I don't want to say too much about it because I've already gone over all the yarns. I will link everything below, and my Ravelry page, project page for this. I used two lace weight yarns. Well, actually three. Two were like a merino. One was a cashmere merino, one was a merino silk, and one was a glitter mohair. I'll link everything below. So I will just give you, this is a super, super easy garment, and I highly recommend it. You guys knit it. It is so fabulous. And I think Miriam and Christina of Chelsea Pearls, I think they're just about to start this, and I know there are quite a few other knitting vlogger, podcasters, YouTubers, whatever you want to call this community who broadcast here on YouTube, I think they are about to make Love Note. It's going around. So what I did, I find, which I believe I mentioned last time, that I typically, when I do, now that I'm learning to do top-down sweaters, is I like my neckline to pull in slightly. I started with a much smaller gauge needle. I started with a US size 4. I cast on with that, so I worked the pattern for the neckline, and I would slowly increase. I'd work a few rows in the size 4, then I worked a few rows in the size 5, then in size 6. So I gradually increased the needle size and making the increases per pattern instructions, but again, always increasing the needle gauge size. For me, I just found that doing that technique gives me a nice gradual fit. It fits, I like the way it fits better around the neckline and around the décolletage. So, or the yoke, let's say the yoke, I like that better. So, I followed all those directions with the exception of changing the needle size. And then like a ding-dong, because I didn't do a gauge, but I based my needle size choices on other garments that are similarly made, similar weight, and so I used that. And what I did after I cast on, then I went to a size 48 length needle, and I tried it on. So I had, I think, several inches, and I tried it on, and I thought, okay, I'm doing okay. And if I had to rip back, frog it, and start over, I would have. Luckily, it was fine. What I didn't do, because it's still new-ish to me, working yokes, I do not like my sleeves. I start something and then I don't stop. Okay. Rewind. On yoke sweaters, I noticed that some of them, the yoke will come down to about here. So you've got this big gap. I like a more snug fit under my arms. So what I did is, you're supposed to increase at some point right before, either right before or after the separation for the sleeves. And I did a couple stitches fewer. And I probably, across the bust area, it's just not snug, but when I move my arms, this part of the garment moves, and it really, if something is well made and well designed, it shouldn't. So I should not, when I move my arms, the rest of the body should not rise up, and it does. So that was my mistake, nothing to do with the pattern. I should have just increased a couple of more stitches across, at least across the front, because my back is rather small, so that fits fine. It's just across the bust area. I could have used maybe 3 or 4 more stitches across there. Again, not a huge deal, but a lesson learned. But I love the sleeve length. Actually, is it 3/4? Oh, these appear a little longer, and they're a little wider on the pattern. I wanted them a little more fitted. There isn't really, there's not negative ease. I'd say there's like no ease on the arms, and that's what I wanted. So I just, I didn't increase as much as the pattern called for. And what else? And I think that was about it. Oh, and as you guys know, which I've mentioned before, I do my slip stitch crochet around the neckline to reinforce the neckline so that it doesn't stretch out, and just to carry the weight of the garment. And I do that around my hems, my sleeve hems, and then my garment hems. And I do that with, especially with ribbing, I don't like it to stretch out. So if I put the slip stitch crochet, I think it sort of helps prevent some of the stretching out that you get over time wearing ribbing. And actually, I don't think, the pattern may have called for 1x1 ribbing, and I did 2x2 ribbing. And I did my slip stitch crochet this time on the inside of the garment. Usually I do it on the exterior. And I should have experimented with this because I've never paid much attention. But this time I decided, you know, let me do it on the inside, my slip stitch crochet on the inside, and actually visually, I think it looks nicer. So if you guys, so I know some of you had said you really wanted to try that technique, doing the slip stitch around the neck and the hems and the sleeve hems to reinforce your garments. Try it on both the inside and the outside and see which you prefer. I think, you know, it depends. If I'm doing a, like on the My Boy Lollipop, that definitely I did on the outside, and I think it looked better on the outside. But if you are doing a ribbing, see which one you like better. Either way, it works fine, but you might prefer one of, they look slightly different. It's not huge. Probably no one else would notice. But if you're very fussy about finishing, then try it both ways. Do a few stitches on one side, then the other, and see which one you prefer. And that's it. That's my FO for this week, or this since we last saw each other. You guys, I love this tulle skirt. It just, there's a lot to it, but it's so beautiful. Okay, so works in progress. Progress, as they say in Canada, or progress, as we say here in the States. Nancy Ricci of Getting Pearly With It re-released one of her patterns. It's a summer top, and it's called the Shelley Summer Top. And it uses Cascade Ultra Pima cotton yarn, which I happen to have a whole box of up here that I've used in the past for many years. I love the colorways that they have. They're just very vibrant. There's a bit of a sheen to the cotton yarn, and it's very beautiful. I'm almost halfway done. I'm almost ready to bind off the top. And I changed the pattern slightly. I'm making, I'll probably do, I was debating if and maybe I still am, I'm debating if I'm going to make it sleeveless, or if I will do like a modified drop sleeve and just have maybe, to here. I'm still undecided. The jury's still out on that one. But this is how this will look, right? So I'm almost there. There's my underarm. And so I'm almost ready. This is going to be the back, and then I have to knit the front. And I will do a bit of a scoop neck in the front. So that is my deviation from the pattern. Also, it's not going to be quite as cropped as the pattern calls for. And I think that's about it. It's a super easy pattern, you guys. It's a great summer knit. The cotton, if you haven't worked with the Cascade Ultra Pima cotton, it's a beautiful cotton. It's very soft. And once you wash it, and I find this with most yarns, wool or other natural fibers, plant fibers, they always feel not stiff or rough, but they feel a little different. And then when you wash them, they really soften and smooth out. They get this wonderful soft texture. So this yarn does not hurt my hands. I think I've heard some people mention that sometimes cotton and or wool yarns can hurt their hands. I do not have any issues with this cotton yarn. And I think of the few cotton yarns that I've tried, I really like the Ultra Pima cotton. So you should check out, there are 30 different colorways. So there's a wide range. And what I loved is here, as you guys know, I'm huge with teals and blue. So here we have like an aqua, and then there's a medium teal, and then a dark teal. And I think Nancy's pattern called for 4 colorways, and I only had 3, and I didn't want to order. I wanted to use up what I had in my stash, or some of it's leftovers from other projects. So I decided just to go with the 3. And so I had to redo the math a little bit. And do I do a gauge? Of course not. So what I did is I knit 1 repeat of each color. I washed it, well, not washed, but I soaked it in water, let it dry, measured it, and that's how I did my gauge. And that's how I determined how many repeats I would make and where I would change them, etc. Nancy is going to be doing a cal for this garment as well. I think she's starting it July 1st. And I was just ahead of the game, so I may make another one for the Cal and get involved in that because it's easy, it's great summer knitting. You don't have to have heavy wool sitting on your lap and, you know, heating you up during the middle of summer. So check it out, you guys. It's a great pattern. Okay. Another work in progress is called the Essential Tank Top by Laura ZUKAITE, I think it is pronounced. This is the top. That is the top. I made this top, gosh, 7 years ago, maybe more, and it was one of my early full lace projects. Maybe it was even 8 years ago. So it was one of my first lace projects. It turned out okay. It wasn't great. You know, I used too small of a needle for the yarn, and so it didn't open up. The lace didn't open up as it should. And I really love this garment. And with summer here, I thought, gee, I'm going to make another one. So this is what I've got so far. And you have seen it on Instagram. And as you can see, on the top, it's more puckery. And on the bottom, it has been blocked a little bit. So I did the same thing as I mentioned earlier. I had something to go on as well because I've knit this years ago. I used that for an educated guess with needle size and cast on stitches, and it worked out perfectly. So here I am combining two yarns. One is called Blue Heron Yarn Company. Actually, my very first Vogue knitting live in Los Angeles, or well, it was Pasadena, quite a few years ago, I bought, there was this beautiful rayon silk yarn. And even though rayon is, I guess, I'm not sure if it's 100% synthetic, but it's sort of a synthetic semi-plant-based yarn or a fiber. And if I'm wrong, please forgive me. I'm going off my memory, but I think rayon is a little less synthetic than, say, polyester. And I love rayon because it has a lovely drape to it. And so, but working with it, it splits easily. So using it alone, and it's lace weight, I was always frustrated. I would start with it, and then I would put it down because it was a little splitty. So then I thought, well, gee, I have all these merino silk lace weight yarns. What if I hold it double, or well, the rayon yarn with the merino silk yarn. So hold them together throughout. And this is what I have, and it's really beautiful. It will be very drapey. It already is, but once I'm done and wash everything and block it, it'll be super fab. And it has a nice sheen to it from the silk and from the rayon. I think the rayon, yeah, I think it's rayon cotton, but it might be a mercerized cotton. So it has a nice sheen to it. And of course, again, in my lovely sort of peacock teal colorways that I love so much. And this one, I am also undecided on this. This tank, as you can see from the picture, had just little spaghetti straps. And I'm debating if I'm going to do spaghetti straps or if I will make them a little wider and I will have, I don't know, I'm not sure. I might make them slightly wider and with a scoop neck. And then I also thought about just casting on extra stitches where I would do the armhole and then having a drop sleeve. But I'm not sure yet. And I'm at the point where if I'm going to keep this garment a little shorter, it's supposed to be about 18 to 20 inches long, so that kind of tunic length, you can belt it, around your hips or something. And because crop tops are in now, I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll make this more of a crop version, but not too cropped because I'm short-waisted, and if it's too cropped, I look even more short-waisted. So it needs to be, even if it's a crop-ish, it needs to be on the longer side instead of the shorter side. because I don't want to look any more short-waisted than I am. So that is this work in progress. This too, it's a very easy pattern to follow. There are, it is charted, and there are two charts, one chart for the lower portion of these beautiful petals, and then there's a slightly different chart, so the petals are, the dimensions are a little different, a little shorter, and the longer chart is, the repeat I think is 18 by 36 rows, so 18 stitches by 36 rows, and then the shorter petal version is 18 stitches, 18 stitch repeat by 24 rows. And so that is this. But if you haven't tried this pattern, and I'm also trying to, I want to support some of the older patterns that have been around, because I think we can sort of bring them up to date by making them a little more cropped, or more fitted sleeves, or if you want it more 80s, you can do a little more shoulder, like a little, what would you call it, like a puckery shoulder. So there's a lot of things you can do with these beautiful garments that were designed 5 and 10 years ago that are still very wearable, and they can be very trendy if you just make a few modifications. And so that's what I thought I would do with this one, is update it. I really love the pattern. It is summer. It's time for summer knits. And so that's what I'm working on this one. So I'm very excited. I will keep you guys posted on this. But this is the first piece. Oh, and something else I do. As many of you probably are aware, when you knit a garment, and it's not a sweater where you have stockinette, where you can do short row shaping for the back to make it a little longer so it doesn't ride up on your back or on your bum. So I have found if I do my edge stitches, which I always do, because my very first knitting crush, Shirley Paden or Paden, Shirley PADEN-BERNSTEIN, a New Yorker, and I met her at Vogue Knitting Live in New York. she was so sweet. Anyway, her design book, she always incorporates edge stitches. So let's say you have, your pattern calls to cast on 80 stitches. According to Shirley, she recommends you cast on 82, so you have an edge stitch at each end. And so I do that. I've been doing that for almost as long as I've been knitting. And it really helps in the seaming process. And I think I've talked to you guys about that before. And because with a lace pattern like this, and the chart is so long, I cannot do short row shaping in this, right? It would just throw off the pattern too much. So instead, what I do is, let's say your pattern calls for 80 stitches, and I will do my back piece. Right, if you're doing it in pieces, I will do the back with one extra edge stitch per side. So one here, so I would cast on 82. But then the front of the garment, I'm going to make 2 edge stitches each side. So 4 edge stitches. I would put 2 here and 2 here, and then whatever your cast on pattern calls for is between my markers. And I have found that just that little bit, those extra 2 stitches on each end for the front piece of the garment, forces the back of the garment to drop slightly. Not a lot. I mean, it's almost negligible, but it doesn't ride up, right? Like some patterns you've made, and if there's no short row shaping, you might find that, oh gosh, it kind of rides up a little bit in the back. The front hangs longer and the back rides up. And I have found that just putting that extra edge stitch eliminates that problem, or minimizes. I will say minimize, right? I think it eliminates that problem, but I can't guarantee you. So let's just say it minimizes that problem. As with everything else, I will link this below, the Essential Tank Top by Laura ZUKAITE. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but again, it is a beautiful, beautiful, let me show you again in case you're interested. I found on YouTube, I'll link it below because I don't remember it offhand, there is a crocheter. Oh, it might be B.Hooked Crochet. That might be the YouTube channel. And she has a very easy pattern. I think you, depending on your yarn weight, I think she's using Aran, but I adjusted it. And sometimes I would hold 2 fingering together. Sometimes I did DK. I tried it with various yarns. And so I would just adjust the hook size. And you cast on 63 stitches, and then you do a, in the States we call it a double crochet, and you double crochet all the way across. Then when you turn around, you're going to do like shell stitches in, I'll link it below so if you want to follow along, but it's a very easy flower pattern. And then when you're done, it's only 2 rows. Well, the cast on, 1 row of the double crochet, and that's US standard double crochet, and then the second row, or if you want to count the cast on as the, you know, the first row, then you'd have your 3rd row would be the shaping of the flower petals. And then when you're done, you just wrap it around your finger, and B.Hooked crochet will show you how you weave in the ends and secure the petals. So I've been going crazy, and also I did a little variation on the petals, because you're supposed to do double crochet in, you know, you skip a stitch and do 7 double crochets in a stitch, and then you'll skip a stitch and then do a single crochet. Then I thought, oh, what if I do, instead of doing 7, or maybe it's 8 double crochets to make the petals, instead of doing 8 together, which I did do, I started off doing that, but then on this one, for example, I decided I'm going to do 4 double crochets, then I'm going to chain 2, then I'm going to do the second 4 double crochets, so I make 8, but it puts a little bit of a tip at the edge of the petal instead of just rounded petals. Let me see if I can show you the difference, because let me see which one of these. Oh, I think this one here. I'm going to have to put all these down. I'm going to have to put down all my flowers. Okay, let me get close. So here, that is just doing 8 double crochets in the chain spaces, right? This one, and you can see the petals, right? You see here, they're just very rounded, right? They're very rounded. And this one, I did, right, you have the tips here because I separated. I did 4 double crochets, then I did chain 2, and then I finished the last 4 double crochets to make 8, but now these have little tips here. I don't know, can you see that really well? See, they're a little more tipped than this. Let me see. Can you see that side by side? So I just experimented with that, and I thought it was, oops. So I experimented with that. So I have all these beautiful flowers, and what am I making the flowers for? Well, let me tell you. I just dropped one. I see everyone, and Nancy with Getting Pearly with it, and everyone has, and I think, oh, Cece, everyone has these beautiful, Frida crowns, and so that's what I want to make. So I've just been doing a lot of flowers, practicing mostly, but then as I got a little better at the flowers, I decided I would make them for my Frida crown, so that I will have, you know, my Frida crown. So that is what those are for. So I know a lot of you, you listen to audiobooks while you knit or crochet or weave or do needlepoint, and I too, huge fan of it. I do it when I'm knitting or power walking. So Trey Liz recently, I saw on her Instagram feed that she was talking about a book called Something in the Water by Catherine Steadman, and it was funny because I recognized it right away because I was in the middle of listening to it. Let me show you. Something in the Water. It's a great read. It's well done. This author, I think actually, that might be her first novel. I should have done more research. Anyway, it's a really good book. So if you're looking for something great to read, something in the water, it's really, here, let me read, I will read. A shocking discovery on a honeymoon in paradise changes the lives of a picture-perfect couple in this taut psychological thriller debut for readers of Ruth Ware, Paula Hawkins, oh, I like Paula Hawkins, and Sherry Lapena. So anyway, you guys, check it out, Something in the Water, whether you want to read it in hard copy, on your tablet, or audiobooks, check it out, Something in the Water by Catherine Steadman, and I'll probably link that below too. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Yarn mail delivery. So Stephanie from Asylum Fibers, our girl Stephanie, I think she was making My Boy Lollipop, and it was in this Absolin, I think it was the Absolin colorway. It was one of these two. And I just, oh my God, I fell in love. And because it is sort of my teals and peacocky colors, I immediately had to rush and I went online and purchased it. So I'm going to get up close. So this is, it is called, let me show you here, the label, the colorway. The base is Daft. That is the color. And I have it in Sparkle, and this is called Silver Goose, the base Silver Goose. So there's a little, can you see the little sparkle? I think I see it coming through. And then there's another one, Apparition, which is also the Daft base. Is that is not, come on, come on, come on. Why is that not focusing? There we go. Okay, so that colorway is similar but not quite the same. See, they are similar but not exactly the same. And then, let me put those down. And then this one is, this is Madhouse Forbidden. Why am I not getting a focus here? Forbidden. And look at this gorgeous plums and purples and a little orange, a little pop of black in there. And then we have this lovely Flower Child. Flower Child. And that's a fingering weight yarn. And I also got the Flower Child in the mohair. Because what? Because I love my mohair. So those are my goodie yarn mail. And I got my last yarn mail. I had never ordered from the Love Knitting website before, and a friend of mine mentioned it. She said she really loves the photographs. The color charts seem to be more accurate representation of color to her, and so I thought, well, I'll give them a try. Plus, they were the only ones that had, I am in love with Fyberspates Scrumptious lace weight yarn, and it's a bit hard to come by. And I had some for years, but I don't have enough. And I really want to mix this with my Skein Cocaine yarn. Right? I want to mix it with my Skein Cocaine. And so I thought, and I didn't have enough of the Fyberspates. So I actually found it on Love Knitting website, and I was so happy that they had it. And so I think this will probably end up being, I'm going to show you these two. Right? I showed you guys this before, right? The Skein Cocaine. And it, you know, it's the Surrey Cloud. And I showed you that. And so now this, and I think there are 800 or 900, how many yards? 1,000. There's 1,000 meters here, so it's just over like almost 1,100 yards. So it is a lot of bang for your buck. And I think together these will make a very beautiful, I don't know, actually I may make another one of these love notes with this. But it arrived, put that there. It arrived in this lovely pouch, this drawstring pouch, and it was so pretty. And so I also ordered, I'm also a huge fan of art yarns. They have glitter, a lace weight glitter yarn that I've used a lot, and actually one of the yarns I used in this is the mohair glitter, because they have a lot of silver glitter, which I prefer silver than gold, again, because I'm a cool complected person. Silver is better color for me. And so I thought I would try this merino cloud, which is 80% extra fine merino and 20% cashmere, and it's so soft. And what is this colorway? It's called 904. It's just a number. It's 904. And this must be, I think, this might be a sport weight. I'm looking at the needle size. It could be, yeah, like a sport weight yarn. Actually, it might even be fingering. Well, it says 5 needle size. So anyway, so that is, and there's the label, 904. Anyway, look at how gorgeous that is. That is super, super, super fab. Actually, you guys, here, you can't see all my tools. So here's my tool, and here's the yarn. Look at that. Wait, should I get closer? There's the tool from my skirt, and here is the yarn. So it seems I'm a little hooked on this lately, right? The purples, the teals, the aquas, and yeah, so thank you so much for tuning in. And if you'd be so kind and like the video, if you don't like it, oh well, thanks for popping in. I wish all of you a happy making, happy crochet, happy knitting, happy needlepoint, weaving, spinning, sewing, any of the crafts and making. If you make all the things, good for you. And we will see you next time. Have a great weekend. Bye.